A thief, shot and bleeding, driven by his need to steal, pushes his luck one more time, but finds this neighborhood armed and ready. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On this week's episode, our guest will be Michael Carrizales. Michael is a retired Texas peace officer, a senior 911 telecommunicator, as well as the lead instructor for Gander Mountain Academy in Spring, Texas. Wes Doss, founder and president of Kyber Interactive Associates. Wes has a PhD and is internationally recognized as a firearms instructor. Rob Pincus has been gracious enough to join us again, managing editor of the Personal Defense Network. Thank you all for joining us. So tell me, Michael, I know you do a concealed weapons course in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Is there a difference between a concealed weapons course in Texas and other states?
Texas has the most stringent requirements for all applicants.
Most stringent?
Most stringent. The Texas Department of Public Safety mandates that each applicant take a 10 to 15 hour course. Majority of the instructors provide a 10-hour course. Everyone has to have a clear background. The course, we do a classroom class test, and we also do a shooting range test.
Okay, there is a shooting range test involved.
Yes.
Okay, so you do need to be prepared for that when you apply for your license.
Yes. On the contrary, a lot of people think that we're going to teach you how.
Yeah, I know that's where the confusion comes in.
And we do not. The student has to demonstrate their proficiency to the instructor.
Okay. Wes, let me ask you a question. I'm looking over your courses and it says Dynamic Crisis Rescue. Whoa! Tell me about that.
Well, Dynamic Crisis Rescue is our term for an active shooter train the trainer program. And it's a little bit different than the national standard in that we teach from a tiered format, starting with the lone officer up to maximum numbers with the ability to scale it back to minimum numbers. So we're looking at it as being able to work with both the rural communities as well as the large metropolitan communities.
Okay. Rob, I know that you're the program developer of combat-focused shooting. What does that mean?
Well, combat-focused shooting is the primary course that's taught under the ICE Training Company banner. Of course, that's my company, and primarily I've been teaching those courses for the last decade. What we've done is we've built up a cadre of instructors who are certified to teach that program. They're outstanding. They're located all over the country, and I continue to do instructor development, coaching, and of course the company does a lot of the marketing and class placement for those instructors, but more and more often the courses are being taught by other instructors, not just me.
Okay, well, I mean, that program developer is something that I probably have a better working knowledge of, and I know that's a lot of responsibility. You're a very busy guy. This is like that 12 midnight to 6 a.m. hour, right? I mean, right. Where do you find time to do that?
Well, that's just it. With more and more instructors busy teaching, that gives me more and more time for the bigger picture, to be able to come on shows like this, spread more information, do more writing, more video work, and the program development for the other instructors.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I have for you today. On our crime scene, we are going to Florida. And this is a robbery. And this is a robbery which is a little bit unusual in so much as the bad guy is actually going to do two robberies almost simultaneously. And there's a reason for that. When we come back, I'll show you part one. Welcome back, viewers. We're going to go to the state of Florida. We are going to reenact a crime for you that took place there. It is a robbery. It took place in a neighborhood. This is a little unusual, and I think we will probably find the driving reason behind it being so unusual. But remember, these are real crimes. We don't make anything up here, folks. This came from one of you sent to me. So let's look at part one.
Help me. I'm bleeding. Call an ambulance.
Oh my God. Wait here. Hello? Yes, a man's coming to my house and he says he's hurt. Send an ambulance. I'm at 1017 Trees Court and where did he go? He was just right here.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to say here is that this is a very determined robber. I'm going to make a guess here, and then certainly we can all make our own guess, but I'm thinking that this guy's on drugs and he needs to obtain something today. Obviously, he wasn't hurt that bad with the shotgun, and he's going on. I mean, he's driven by something. I mean, how many bad guys are going to take a shot and then continue to rob someone else?
Well, he's motivated, that's for sure.
Motivated, right. I'm going to say drugs. What do you think?
I don't know. He did go in and say, hey, call an ambulance. He didn't go in and say, give me your watch. So maybe he's now just acting out of desperation and he's in survival mode. I didn't see an overt threat or attempt to rob the second home.
That's a good observation. Michael, what do you think? The man was probably living alone. I think for him to have the shotgun sitting beside him, and then he sees a noise at the door, and he gets up and he prepares for someone to enter. I don't see this particularly unusual. I mean, if he wasn't expecting anyone, I guess that's pretty probable. What do you think?
The elderly man obviously is a single individual. He's had attempts on a possible burglary from other times. Otherwise, why does he have a loaded shotgun next to the recliner? Okay? He was pretty confident that whoever was coming through the door was not an invited guest. So that was an outsider. That was a given there. So he took action.
Okay. Well, I like what you said, Rob, that he may or may not, he may be there for help. He was kind of sneaky about it, seems to me. At first, I thought he was just running away, and then he goes in behind a home, and then it's kind of like looking in the window and then secretly opening the door. And I mean, he's a pretty bold bad guy.
Well, yeah, I think he if he was legitimately seeking help, he'd have knocked on the front door, pounded, somebody called me an ambulance. I mean, he came into the house and probably didn't realize that it was occupied. And that's when he got in character and then asked her to call the ambulance.
Yeah, and even when he saw there was someone sitting in the chair, he continued to search for any other people around. And then, to my surprise, he actually approaches the wife and says he needs help, which lends to what you were saying.
Oh my God.
I think what's interesting here is, we can always say, well, why did he do this? How did he do this? But what's interesting here is, what about her? So as we talked about, the older gentleman's actions with the shotgun, there could be reasons for that. What he did seems reasonable. He's not under an obligation to call out a warning or to try to run out the back door. He's defending his home. Someone broke in. This woman has a guy bleeding in her kitchen, and she turns her back on him and makes a cell phone call. Probably not the smartest tactics there.
Right. Again, I think she was very innocent. I don't think she perceived a danger, which to me, if someone just appeared in the kitchen, you'd think that would, maybe she's got who knows? Whatever it is, it didn't worry her. I guess that surprised me when I read that. So when we come back, we'll watch part 2, and things may change. Viewers, we've just looked at a robbery, an attempted robbery on an individual who seemed to be prepared when someone came to his door. He did the correct things. I think Michael pointed out to us that because he was so prepared, possibly this had happened before, or certainly in the neighborhood. And maybe that's the reason why as far as I'm concerned, he probably did what he should have done. Now, I'm going to show you part 2. And we'll come back and we'll analyze the entire event. Let's watch part 2.
Yes, I'll be careful. What are you doing? Oh, no, stop. Help me, He attacked me. My husband's holding him at gunpoint.
Okay, we're on the phone to 911. And she remains on the phone, so I'm going to give her credit for that. Where do you want to go next?
I think I'd have woken my husband up a little earlier into the scenario. You've just got a total stranger running around your house. I mean, the time and opportunity to help this poor guy is diminishing quickly. I mean, staying put would have been the most prudent thing for somebody who desperately needed your assistance to do.
Okay, Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is why we plan ahead. This is why training is so important and thinking about what you're going to do when that bad guy shows up. It's not going to be pounding at the door and you're going to have time to make a plan. So your plan ahead of time needs to be, well, if someone shows up in my house, I'm not just going to turn my back on them and assume that they have my best interest at heart or they're just someone who needs help. She put herself in danger the minute she turned her back on that guy and didn't react to him as a potential threat in the first place.
Okay, and I think that's very true, that I thought that her turning her back on him and calling 911 was a good idea. Turning her back, I'm not sure that was a good idea, because that's, of course, when he took leave to search the rest of the house and continue what he was going to do. If someone came in the house like that and they're bleeding and they're asking for help, maybe some of her basic instincts kicked in, but she was still smart enough to call 911 to get an ambulance at that point. She didn't feel threatened. Is that what you saw?
At the moment, no. She saw a wounded individual. She's trying to assist them. So her method, use a cellular, get medical attention.
Okay. Well, this was an older neighborhood. It did take place in Florida. Maybe someone coming into your home is not that unusual. What do you think?
Front doors were locked. Obviously, the first gentleman's house had a locked front door. I mean, it's not unreasonable for somebody to come knock on your door and ask for assistance, but you don't know this person from Adam.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to help you. I need you to get out of my house and sit down right there. I'm going to call an ambulance for you, not have them come in and start taking residency inside your house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first bad news right there.
The other thing I think I liked about the comment was, why didn't she go in there and get her husband?
Exactly.
And but again, she was at least smart enough to get on the phone. I'm not happy with her turning her back on him. That's the way the cards fell, but what do you think?
Well, and then I wasn't sure. It sure seemed to me like she had hung up the phone at one point, but then clearly she was on the phone. Maybe she put it on hold. It looked like she had a button. Sometimes it's hard to tell with the reenactment exactly what happened. But clearly, the next step, when the husband is woken with the screams of his wife, he had a plan. He woke up. He did not go rushing towards the sound of the family member that needed help, which is what most people would do sort of intuitively or instinctively. Instead, he had a plan. He went and got his gun and then charged into the room.
Right. You got to give him a lot of credit for that. So obviously that was someone who had a good handle on the situation. Now we've got about a minute. Give me a comment.
Let's give it a perspective from the individual that was wounded, walked in. From previous experiences, cases that I worked personally, I handled 2 robberies, both of them at pharmacies. The guy that broke into the pharmacy, he used his physical body to break the glass door. He gets all cut up. I mean, he's seriously cut. And he walks across the street to see how long it takes for police officers to respond or whether or not there was an alarm. Unfortunately, at that time, that particular store did not have an alarm. Yes, we responded. I was the responding officer. I see blood. I trail the blood. In that time frame, he returns back to the pharmacy. So I'm chasing this blood trail, and I go right back to the pharmacy because it makes a U-turn in the blood trail. I go back to the pharmacy, and lo and behold, there he is. He's foaming at the mouth. He's inducing, shoving everything he has access to, and I have to talk him out at gunpoint. So yes, he was looking for drugs, but he was going through the Chester drawer, so he's looking for money, hidden money, to buy the drugs. So yes, he was determined to get in there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the fact that somewhere, and we did not get the results of what took place after the arrest, but I'm going to go with the fact that this guy had to be driven by something more than, hey, I'm going to make a robbery today. I mean, geez, I'm shot. I'm going on now. I'm going to rob a second house. I don't think he just, I don't have anything to do for the next hour while I'm bleeding, so I'll go down and. So I think he was pretty determined. When we come back, we'll have more comments for you. Welcome back. You know, we were looking at this robbery that took place in Florida. It was in a retirement neighborhood. The bad guy had been shot. We don't think that he took a direct hit. Probably took somewhat of a deflected hit and went on to a second location. I would like to think that he is being driven pretty hard here with a need to obtain something for some reason, be it drugs, be it whatever. Michael, you were starting it and told us a story. Do you want to continue with that?
As a police officer responding to a robbery of a pharmacy, it was a silent alarm. I actually caught the burglar inside the pharmacy. The man made a trip specifically to break into the building, and then he backed off of it as quickly as he broke in. He cut up his arms, his fists, his hands pretty bad. He left a trail of blood. I followed the trail, and it literally made a U-turn to where he goes back into the pharmacy. This was an individual that had been arrested numerous times for drug violations.
Okay, so this was drug-driven.
It was drug-driven.
If I can use that phrase.
Yes.
Okay.
So he wanted to make sure to see how the response was.
Right.
You know, so
kind of like breaking the window and then going around and see if the cops show up.
Exactly.
Right.
So
right.
in this particular incident, we have an individual that has been wounded. That was not going to deter him from getting his money to buy the drug or something.
Right.
But we're assuming here.
Right, right. Okay, what do you think about the way Mom acted, Wes?
I think there's 100 different things she could have done better. Primarily would have, again, you know, not having him in the home, getting him out, but notifying the sleeping husband that's laying in the lazy boy. Come on, there's somebody in our house. You going to get up?
Right.
I mean, just go in there and just deal with the situation. Obviously, it's an emergency of some level. I mean,
yeah, she kind of shrugged her shoulders as she went by him, and the only reason why we see it that way is because the way it was presented to us was that she did pass by her husband, who was asleep in the chair, and chose to go on in pursuit of the lost bad guy.
Well, she gave the 911 operator kind of a nonchalant, yeah, I'll be careful, kind of response over the phone. Like
so 911 probably did the right thing by telling her to be careful, and she didn't take it as seriously as probably she should have. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I think there were several pieces of complacency there, right, on her part. I mean, I think first and foremost, lock the door, right? The back door was unlocked. He went around the house, he pushed the back door open, no problem, no resistance there. Person shows up in your house, have a plan. You know, make something happen other than turn your back on them and do what they say, which is call the ambulance in this case. You know, get the other people involved. And then at the end of the day, don't confront that person over whatever it is they need. If it's drugs, if it's money, you don't need to go charging out. I mean, she was in no position to go take someone on, injured or not. She clearly got herself into this kind of hostage situation, even without a weapon present, you know, some kind of a wrestling match. And now she's put herself in the line of fire as the husband, who was the only one who sort of had a plan, goes charging him with his gun instead of staying like at the door and giving instructions and really thinking about what's going on before he gets his gun taken away or shoots his wife or who knows what in his sleepy, hazy days.
Okay. I kind of think it's a real-life situation, and it's by typical people who don't have a real plan for something, and they're kind of reacting to what took place. I like this one. I appreciate you sending me this one. If you have some comments and you would like to add to this show, you can contact me, and I will definitely bring them before the guests, and we'll talk more about that. But I gotta go, so I'll leave you with this. The gunfight you win is the one you do not get into. We'll see you next week. Be safe, be trained, be alert.